3 weeks later, many months later.
Hola, hola, hola. Welcome. We back. I'm back on these YouTube streets, y'all. Good evening. Come on in. Like the video, share. Y'all already know. But if you don't know, like, share, and subscribe to the Real Precious Network. Okay, we changing it around. We adding some new things. We're in a new season, and I'm excited to be back. I am really excited to be back. I see y'all in here in the comments. Before we get to the comments, we want to welcome 3 a.m. Thought Club to the channel. You are new to my YouTube channel. You're not new to social media. The content that I've been putting out lately of the foster care and adoption content. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being here. And introduce yourself to the people, to the folks in YouTube world.
My name is Leon, but my YouTube page is 3 a.m. Thought Club. I met Precious through another channel, actually. And we've been talking about adoption. We're both adopted, and we are sharing our journeys. We both have different journeys, but the end goal is to bring light to what we've experienced, and to help people grow and understand where their feelings are.
Yes. And I appreciate you because not a lot of adoptees are open or ready to share their story. They're not ready to join the conversation. However, I created the adoptee foster. The adoptee foster is something I created actually. I would have to go back in my files, but this is not new. This is probably newer to my audience, but the adoptee foster I created at least 2 years ago. And it was just, me adding content to this channel, The Real Precious. I actually went live with someone that I met on social media, just networking and doing different shows. And he was a part of a YouTube channel. And we found out that we were adopted. I found out that he was adopted. He found out that I was adopted. So he would do some content with me, which I actually took down from the channel, but I will be repurposing that content and bringing it back to the channel because there were some really good conversations that we would have. And it was based out of a book, 20 Things I Wish My Adoptive Parents Knew. This was a book that we went over, actually one of the first books that I ever read about adoption. And when I did, it just made so many things make sense in my brain. It made my nervous system calm because it was just like, oh my God, I'm reading things that I wish other people understood. And now they're, now it's in a book and I can consume it and, just feel a little bit more comfortable about my journey. In this adoption world. So those who are new here, thank you so much for being here. I see some of you have come over from Instagram. That was a new channel that I started, the Adoptee Foster, to spread awareness, to be a community, to be advocates, to share stories. And this is where we are going to be saying the uncomfortable things out loud. These conversations are just not conversations you stumble across in your daily walk of life. You just don't. They're not common conversations. You may here or there. Like I learned that a guy that I work with is actually adopted, but I stumbled across that. It wasn't like we were having a, face-to-face conversation. I stumbled across that, and he, was open enough to another Black gentleman, open enough to, share a little bit of his story. And hopefully we'll have him on the channel one day, I like to network. But yes, we are here now on YouTube. We've been saying that, you encouraged me to come back and you're like, why don't we take this on YouTube? And I'm like, I do have a channel, it got some subscribers on it. I shouldn't let it go waste. So we are here. So thank you so much for being committed to this and, always supporting. I really do appreciate that, because I always say to people, you don't have to do it. You choose to do it. It is, definitely your choice. And I appreciate you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to get into some of the comments that I see before we get into our live. So Delim says, welcome back. You've been missed. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'm happy to be back. We're going to be bringing some good content. So I'm changing the name to the Real Precious Network because we're going to have this show. I'm also going to bring back the men's panel that I had prior to me taking a little bit of break from YouTube. I'm bringing that men's panel back. And then someone proposed, not someone, but my sister proposed a show to me that, she's thinking of some ideas and kind of putting things together. And I'm like, sis, well, I got, I have the YouTube channel. And if that's something that you really want to do, then, we can incorporate it. And it is actually a part of our story, the topic or the theme of that show. And I don't want to speak too much about it because it's still in the beginning phases of creation and, how we're going to facilitate it and availability and things of that nature. But it is a show that I think will also be important because there is a moment in one of the videos that I play that it was an aha moment for me, and we'll get there, but I didn't look at it that way until I heard this woman say it. But we'll get there. But definitely, I'm glad to be back. We have some good things coming your way. We're still planning the day that the men's panel will air. I'm looking towards Wednesday. I believe that's when I used to go live before, on Wednesday nights. So this night next week will be the men's panel. We already have a topic picked out and things of that nature. So definitely join us next week, 9 p.m. back here on the Real Precious Network. And we will dive into some relationship topics, the men and women, conversations that we used to have. However, what I will say is anybody who is not new here knows I don't do disrespect, knows I do the, even playing field. We're not just talking about women. We're not just talking about men. We're talking about being better as people that are supposed to be in relationship and where that breaks down. And so that, that's where I come from when I have those type of conversations. Now, I don't know what's going to come out of folks' mouths. Okay. I don't know, the men on the panel. It's been a while. I've been away from them for a while and I still feel like they still in good standing, but you just never know, so, and this is the Real Precious Network. So we, like to keep it real over here. Ebony, thank you so much for being here. Good evening, everyone. She says, average man, for being here. Good evening to you as well. Tammy, hello to you. Hola. 3 a.m. Thoughts Club. You getting some love in the chat. Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, I was trying to connect my channel to the chat, but it's giving me some problems. So
is it all right? Well, next time, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know if that's something that you have to do beforehand. I don't know if you can do it while you're in the live, but you know, we gotta fix the kinks over here. It's okay. It's okay. All right, Mr. Reese, I see you. Good evening to you as well. Bless.
Give me 1 second. I gotta step away for a second.
No problem. This is such an important topic. Thank you. And I appreciate that you're saying that, because not a lot of people are open to hearing, you know, what it is that adoptees have to say. And when you talk about adoption, adoptees should be the center of that. And I think that if anyone speaks to an adoptee, they can definitely learn a lot, because adoption is just not that subject where you're given a book and you're, you know, it's like, all right, go ahead on about your business. You're given a little bit of coaching, you know, you're pretty much researched to a certain extent, and then it's, hey, go raise your family. So I appreciate you for understanding that this is an important topic. Fish in the fit. Hey, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well. I'm gonna make sure I subscribe. Thank you. I appreciate you. Definitely subscribe, share the live, so that the algorithm for YouTube gets, you know, catches this and shows up on other people's For You page. We definitely want the conversation to go far. AJ, what up? AJ, that he was on our show, not last show, the show before that, speaking about his father wanting to be in his children's life. That was a good show. On
That's the letter you read?
Yes. He had texted me the information. Yeah, and we read it. That was actually a good live, and I'm glad that he wanted to open up and share that with us.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Forever child, you don't know what it's going to be up here. All right, so I know everyone has seen the title. I regret adopting you. I want my original family back. So I found 2 clips, and I found the first one first, and I wanted to balance it out, and I found a second one. But we're going to get into this clip, and it's from, I believe his name is Adopted Connor. Here it is. So it's from adopted_Connor on IG and TikTok. He is a adoption advocate as well. And he is one of the ones that really does keep it real about adoption, and how, you know, adoption is this wonderful thing, and yet such a painful thing as well. You can't get one without the other when you speak about adoption. Adoption, you gain a family, but you also lose one. And so in between that losing and gaining, you have children, and, you know, in the midst of that, and you have parents as well in the midst of that, whether they're biological as well as adoptive. You have everyone in the midst of losing and gaining. And so how do we manage the emotions around losing and gaining? How do we fix our thoughts on how to progress the relationship instead of, you know, envy the relationship, or even regret the decisions and things of that nature? And so I saw this video and I thought that we would speak about it. Definitely share your thoughts in the chat. I will drop the link. I do drop the link for those who would like to join the conversation live. You don't necessarily have to show your face. However, in the back studio, you do have to show it, just so I know that you're a real person. Any disrespect, you will get booted and kicked off the show right away. That's just a rule that I have. But anything else is welcome. But I'm going to show this clip, and then we're going to get into conversation about it. All right.
And I wholeheartedly regret that decision. I want my old life back. I'm a biological mom of 3. The bond I have with them is beautiful. I'm a good mom, and I'm so proud of how I raised them until those 2 adopted kids came along. I've never loved these kids. I care for them, but it's not love. And people have asked me about that. They've asked if I feel like I love them, like I gave birth to them, and I say yes, but that's a lie. I feel like I'm babysitting them. I don't think I'm necessarily the best mom to these adopted kids, but everybody calls me a saint for taking them in. My whole circle thinks I am some angel. And inside, I just wish their mom would get healthy and pick them up so that I can be free and finally get my original first family back. But I fake it. I fake it really well.
Because adoption is widely seen as a social good that rescues adopted people, this is a wildly unpopular thing to say in this anonymous confession, but I actually understand a lot of it and resonate with it. Adoption is a lot like arranged marriage. You end up with someone and sometimes it works and a lot of times it doesn't. And what do you do from there? Because the social norm is to comply, to be happy, to fake it until you make it. But not everyone can do that. This is especially challenging for adopted people because adoption is a lifelong, irrevocable contract. And once the papers are signed, that's our life. Adopted people are often silenced and shamed about our experiences when we're honest with how we feel. And a lot of that is because adopters are not willing to be honest about the fact that adoption is not normal or easy.
All right.
Whoa.
Right. She
I
had,
mean,
yeah, he's definitely growing a lot. I'm new to his content, but he definitely has a lot of content surrounding adoption and foster care. Just very eye-opening. But what do you think about this, Leon?
I mean, you got to respect their honesty, right?
Yes.
Even though it's like not a popular opinion, it's not something that you want to hear somebody say. Especially 9 times out of 10, people are getting compensation for adopting people. So it's not like you are not, um, you know, obviously it's not about the money. It's about the children. It is about, picking up somebody's life basically from wherever, whatever situation they came from, right? Like, so they could have been abused, they could have been malnourished, or the parents just didn't have the ability to take care of the kids, right? Like, so in that aspect, I respect her honesty, but like, what was her main goal for adopting these children? If she already had kids and she already knew she wasn't the best of a mom, these are the types of parents you don't want adopting kids
Mm,
because they don't they don't fully buy in. Like they don't like could you imagine like that lady being your mom and you would come to her and like in whatever situation that you may ask her and then she might give you like some random answer like, well, what are you asking me for? I don't care, or like those little things. And I always go back to the first time I did a video with you. It's about nurturing.
hmm
It is about rebuilding that confidence in that kid, that security blanket that they know you can come and ask them just about anything. Um, and so when you have the opportunity to change someone's life, like, you know, obviously they need it because they wouldn't be in the system, right?
Right.
So when you have people that want to take on this role, but like she even said it herself, she wasn't the best of moms. So like I wonder like what her kids that weren't adopted, how they feel about, how they were parented by her. So you have to look at that. And that's I always say, I even ask you, I think a couple times, like what kind of training do these people get and like what kind of um, resources do they have to help these parents like along the way, because I could not imagine that lady being my mom and then later on come to find out that she's online talking like this. Like, could you imagine that? That is forever. The internet is forever. Go ahead.
Yeah, you had definitely some valid points there. Some valid points. And then you say, can I imagine this being my mom? No and yes. And I say no because, I wouldn't I don't think that anyone is ever, or let me word it like this. I don't think a lot of adoptive parents say the uncomfortable things out loud. They don't, right? Her saying that she regrets her decision of adopting children is probably, now let me say this. The woman that was in that video has adopted children. However, she was reading a excerpt from someone else. This was something that she was bringing to
Oh,
light for someone else. So let me start there. Okay.
okay.
Um, but I do not think that a lot of adoptive parents are honest about the difficulty levels that adoption takes them to when it comes to parenting children that are not biologically theirs. And so, what I can appreciate about the video is that she was honest. She laid it all out, right? I think that, y'all know me. Let's be hot, honest, open, and transparent, right? Let's get a little hot, okay? And she was hot, and not a lot of people probably would agree. Not a lot of people probably would see her view as the most, you know the best view towards adoption. However, they are her honest feelings, and just like us as adoptees who have honest feelings about adoption, our adoption process, our adoption journey, and a lot of adoptive parents may not want to hear that honesty, that we have.
Yeah.
It's the same way with adopted children. Like, why would she say that? Like, why would that be something that she say? But if I'm expecting to be hot with you, honest, open, and transparent, I would expect you to be honest, open, and transparent with me. Because when she says, I regret it, and she's honest and she puts her honesty out on the table, it's where do we go from here? How do what exactly, like you said, what's the goal? Why would you say that? And I would only say, why would you say that? Meaning, where are we going with this?
Mhm.
Because once you speak your truth, you can't take it back, right? There are people who will never speak their truth and hold so much back that sometimes it stunts the growth of their children. Sometimes it stunts their own growth, because we all know that when you hold things inside, it can make you physically sick. And so I think that that's something with her revealing those things. I think that her honesty is what should be appreciated the most. Then we can have a conversation about, well, what was your reasoning for adopting children? Because our last live, we talked about a parent treating their biological, or an adoptive parent feeling as though they're treating their biological child differently than the adopted child that they adopted first before they had biological children. And
Mhm.
so it could be a case of, maybe she thought she couldn't have, children. Women that go to the doctors, and the doctor tells them, hey, I don't you may want to, check for different options because this is not going to happen for you. And then God shows up, and he's God, and he can make whatever happen. And now you can have a child biologically, but you've adopted a child because the doctors told you that you couldn't have children biologically. And
Mhm.
so now your life has taken a turn that you didn't expect, because you're thinking this one thing, you're thinking about what the doctors told you. And so it could be a case where she, adopted kids, and then had her biological kids, and saw the difference between the connection, of both. The difference of the connection that she has with her adopted kids, and the difference in the connection that she has with her biological kids.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, because we all know that if you come into a family where they already have a child, and then when you grow up together, you can clearly see the difference in the way that you are treated, the way that they show up for you, the way that they do things, and then like sometimes hindsight is 2020, right? Like, so they might be telling you something you have no idea that this is going to potentially save you from being harmed or saved you from going down a path where you have no idea where you're going. And I tell you, a lot of times, like my mom will be like, "No, you can't, you can't do that. No, you need to stay in the house." And obviously, at that moment, we're just upset, but we
Mhm.
don't see the long goal. Like we don't see that, you know, based on where you grow up, they could have been saving your life. They could have been. I mean, I'd have been to plenty of parties, like, and when I get that feeling,
Get the
like it's time to go.
Mhm.
When in my gut, when I say like, "Oh, this don't feel right," like it's time to go.
Mhm.
Um, and that's probably the feeling they get when you ask, like, "Nah, that's probably not a good idea." Like that's not. We're not doing that today. So and yeah, her feelings are valid. I respect that she said that, but like, what what is the point, or like, where is she? Like you said, where is she going with this? Like, is this after they've grown up? Like, is this like, are they still, youngsters? Teenagers? Like, there's a lot of context that we're actually missing. And then somebody reading something, and then they don't have the full picture, and we're just responding to like whatever the lady is reading, right?
Right.
So um but it does provide a way for conversation to have happen, because if you don't want to adopt somebody, or you feel like you are not a good parent, then guess what, you shouldn't be adopting anybody.
But
You get wrong.
it goes back to what you said before, and the question that you always ask is, what is the training? What how are adoptive parents prepped? And can you really be prepped to have a child in your home? I mean, adoption is a very hands-on process. And so you can't necessarily be trained and prepped on the child. However, you can be trained and prepped and educated on the emotions that will possibly come from that child, possibly come from you being the adoptive parent, and how overwhelming it may feel. Um, Maybe that needs to be part of, that emotional training as well. You were told that you couldn't have children. However, how do you think you would feel if you did have children? If you did, I'm just saying, like, again, God will be God, and in my book, he has the final say. And so that still is you having children is still a possibility, for some women who think that it will never happen.
Mhm.
What I will say though is, while her honesty, to me, I appreciate honesty, period. Whether I like it or not, like, just tell me the truth. Um, what I will say is, we don't know how old the children are, and those words can be damaging without the reasoning and without the conversation behind it. Like you said, it definitely opens up the floor to have more conversation. All right, I'm gonna get to some of these comments, and then I'm gonna play the video over for those who may just have been joining, and
Yeah,
then
I'm gonna try to go to the comments from my phone.
okay. Ebony says, and you should be able to see them.
Yeah, I can see them, but like I wanted to join the chat, but
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah, you're gonna have to do that for me, phone.
Yeah.
Ebony says, wow, this is heavy. Yes, yes. Adoption, there's nothing light about adoption. And something like this, someone being dishonest is heavy. But adoptees who are honest, that's heavy as well. And a lot of people aren't ready for that type of weight to be, dropped on them. And so that's why we have these conversations, because it sparks the thoughts, it sparks the motivation to actually go see someone, like an adoption specialist, a counselor that specializes in adoption or speaks about adoption, who's trained in adoption, educated with adoption. It sparks that type of conversation and urgence to have these to have those real feelings come out. At least she was honest. Some adoptive mothers probably wouldn't say it out loud, and that was my point too, Tammy. Like, some of them really will not tell you how they truly feel. And it's only honesty that's going to bridge the gap in between you and your adopted children. You
Mhm.
have to be honest with them. That's why I don't agree with people waiting to tell their child that they're adopted. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with, withholding information from the adoptee. My motto is tell them young, tell them early, tell them often. You
Yeah,
have to find
yeah.
that.
I kind of always, you know, how when you are around people that like you don't even look like. In my case, it was very loud and clear. I had curly hair, light green eyes, um, and I looked like nobody in my family.
Mm,
So, obviously, I had to figure out like what was going on. Felt like I was in a twilight zone, actually, to be honest. Um, and but like you know, also God gives you the gift of private investigator, and so like I started snooping around, and then I told my mother, I said, "Is what does this mean?" And they kind of was like, "Well, you're adopted," and but at the time, I still didn't know what it meant. Like I'm like, okay, like, but real what I'm saying is it didn't affect me either way because I still love my parents regardless, right? So it was when you get older, that's when you really get curious. Like I think when you start getting around like maybe 15, 16 years old, but you can't like I was in a sealed adoption, so I couldn't look for my parents.
mhm,
And even in the interview I did, like I was telling you, I wasn't ready to look for my parents at 21. Like I needed to live some life. I needed to understand what was going on. And then when I got to a point where I was ready, then I was able to seek out my parents, and my family, but like not before that. And I think like when you watch like that relative race, like when you watch that, it's a lot of people is like at different ages that are seeking out their family, right? Like so it's different when like I don't know if I could do that like before I was almost 30. Like I couldn't do that at 21. I didn't I didn't have enough experience in life. I wasn't ready mentally. Cause that like once you decide to take that on, it's a lot of mental anguish.
yes,
Like
it is.
you gotta go speak to a counselor, you gotta make sure this is something you're ready to do, and you gotta be ready for either either way, right? Like you gotta be ready if they're gonna accept you or there was one relative race, I think, or it was similar where the parents didn't want to be found. They wrote on the papers, "Don't look for me." Could you imagine? Like,
I mean, I'm such a realist. I sometimes it's to a fault. Um, could I imagine it then? No. Can I imagine it now? Yes. Because I have a more mature way of viewing my story. I've accepted, my story, but before the counseling, before the acceptance, before actually being curious about my story, no, I wouldn't be able to imagine, you know, my biological parents saying, "No, I don't want you to ever look for me." It's like that TikTok um phenomenon that came out maybe a few months ago, like, well, if your parents gave you up for adoption, why would you want to go look for them? That it's kind of
never
like,
seen that, but
oh
that's
yeah, go on TikTok. It's a whole thing. Like, if your parents gave you up for adoption, why, they were speaking from the biological parents' view. Like, I don't want you to come and look for me. I gave you up. Like, that was the overwhelming sentiment of these posts. And there were a lot of people that weren't adopted giving their 2 cents because they don't know what it feels like to be given up, to be raised in a family where you look like no one there and you feel like you're in the twilight zone. They don't know what that feels like. They don't know what that curiosity of wanting to find your bloodline feels like. So it's just the reverse of, adopted. And then there are adoptive parents that's like, I don't want any connection. I don't want any reunification. At this point in my life, we speak about it, about not having those expectations when you're talking about the reunification process. And we'll get into those videos later on down the road. But, those are things that need to be taught. Those are things that need to be instilled, and training that needs to happen for those who are in the adopted realm and world, because those people who have, those desires to be reunited with their parents, they need to be given a reality check of, don't expect them to, have open arms. Don't expect them to, be there. Don't have any expectations. And for me, I think I am the way that I am as well, is because I was raised well. I was raised in a home where, we did go to church and things of that nature. And while those things were a practice in my home, it was also, believing in God was something that helped me as an adoptee. It may not help everyone. Everyone may not find relief and release in, having faith and having a faith that you call your own, and you're able to, read certain words and it brings you comfort. I love books. I love words. I love literature. I love all of that. So that also helped me, along with therapy and having these conversations. I wasn't always open to telling my story and having these open conversations because I still had too much hurt. Sometimes I couldn't even talk about my story without crying. Like, these are the steps that you have to go through: the healing, the flushing of the pipes, for lack of better words. This is the, rejuvenation that you need to give yourself, and the grace that you need to give yourself to go through something so heavy that other people don't realize has such a bearing on your entire life. Adoption is an everyday walk, just like the Christian walk, an everyday walk. So is adoption. All right. All right. I'm dropping the link. I'm going to get into more comments, and then we are going to move forward. So if you'd like to join the show, definitely click the link.
yeah. I just want to say, back to the reunion thing. So I had a counselor basically tell me, he was like, all those reunion shows you've seen on Oprah and Maury Povich and all, like, they look nice, but that's not the reality. Like, You have some people who get lucky who, they want to be a part of your life and they want to see, what you're doing. They legit want to see like what you do on a daily basis. They want to be a part of your life. And then there's other people, and I think this is maybe for 50% of the people. I think they want to see that you're okay and that you made it, and basically the situation that you were in, you're not in that anymore, and you are progressing and doing good in life, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, and I feel like that's what my parents. I feel like that's really what they wanted to see. Like they wanted to see, like if I like where I was in life and what I had been doing, and I think that the end goal, like for me, I just wanted to see like who I look like.
Okay.
And like I literally look just like my father, like a spitting image, like I'm his twin.
The blood
But
don't lie. The blood don't lie.
the
Mhm.
DNA is heavy.
Yes, it is.
Um, but you also have to be at peace with yourself before you go and after, because you have to say, okay, whatever the situation is, if you try to connect and they don't receive the olive branch, right? Like, so you just have to be okay with, letting go and just letting whatever you find out or whatever is given to you, that you're okay with it. Like, because at the end of the day, like you still got to go on with your life. You know,
Right.
you can't wallow in this abyss of unhappiness because they didn't want to be a part of your life after you've grown up and became an adult, right? So some people get lucky, others don't. It's just at the end of the day, I'm peaceful with how my life has turned out.
Same here. Same here. I'm at peace. I've accepted it. But having these conversations definitely help, not only us but the community be able to do the same thing. So we got Ebony saying, right, Leon, why does she adopt them? I think every adoptee wants to know that, wants to have that question answered in honesty and in the truth. Miss Teresa says, my foster caretaker had no problem voicing her opinion as if I cared. That's a great question. Ebony says, are the adoptive parents provided with counseling and emotional support of any kind? So I know in my situation, after we got adopted, there were therapy sessions. Like I remember going to the family services building. I remember having those therapy sessions. Now, I don't remember there being a lot of them.
Mhm.
They probably give you like maybe 3 or 4 free sessions because we know things cost. Okay. God forbid you pay for some therapy to heal. But they give you those courtesy visits, and then I believe it's your responsibility as an adoptive parent to navigate and show your children that you are actively participating in their emotional health, and it's for you to continue. But if you don't, that can cost too, so count the costs, right? But what I will say is I think adopted children should get adoptees and foster care children should get free counseling for life. That's just me.
When you say that now, like you said that a couple of times, and I've been thinking about that, and I actually have to agree.
Yeah,
Like,
like if we stuck in
yeah.
this joint for life, come on now, help us out. Come on, just do it. Like, just do it. Like Nike said, just do it. Majority of them do it for the money. Yes, definitely. Especially if
Just on the scene with the lean in a pocket full of green.
Sorry.
The symbolizer made it on the top, but RoboCop last year was a shock. The tone of the Popeye cut shook your butt. Kids are
Yeah, I
screaming
tried
the
to
meaning
send
of
you
system.
something,
Kind of
but
music
you
somebody
don't have.
just hit the Cash App. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I had to, you know, get a little jiggy with it real quick. I
I tried
appreciate.
to send you some through the chat, but like you don't have the
Oh, I'm not monetized. I'm not
oh
monetized. YouTube, they hating over here. They hating. Okay. So yeah, that's why I post the Cash App. So let me just put that banner up. And just in case you guys want to support the show, I appreciate you. Thank you, King. King was the original OG. Okay. If y'all don't know now, you know. King was the original OG. Hold on. Where salute. I thought my notifications were deceiving me. Nah, it's real. We real over here. We real. Good to see you. Thank you so much for the Cash App. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. All right, so now we're gonna get to Miss Teresa. They are so bold. I was told how much it was to adopt me.
wow.
And then you think about interracial adoptions. Those adoptions definitely cost a pretty penny. From experience, AJ, from experience, I think becoming a foster parent first, and because that gives you the chance to fill things out to see how you fit as a parent, see how the child is, and then you can take it to adoption. And there are foster to adopt adoptive parents. So my sister was one of those cases. She was, you know, in their home. So was my youngest brother. They were in a, foster home, and then their foster parents decided to adopt them. That wasn't the case for me or my brother. We went through a few foster homes before we were adopted. And so I would agree with that as well. The only downfall with that is, you know, if the foster parent doesn't decide to adopt you. I was heartbroken when I got adopted. That was trauma for me. I love my foster mom so much. Like I was happy there. I didn't understand that going to a picnic one day would result in me being adopted, and it really it really shook my world up and down. So she was also having a biological child of her own. And so, in my mind, I was so young, I never asked, these questions. It was just, you're leaving one day, take your black trash bags, and, you're on to the next house. But I wish that was a situation where, at that time, I wish it was an option that, I could have stayed there. However, I was adopted. I was raised well. I love my parents. They did an awesome job, phenomenal job. So I have no complaints, but those were my real feelings at that time. Once an orphan. Ooh, I'm glad that you're here because I'm playing a clip. I will credit the clip to you. However, I saw a beautiful clip on TikTok. Actually, I saw it on first, and I thought we'd play it in reflection of the first clip that we played. But she said, I hate the idea of waiting until they're 18. Yes, I do too. I feel as though that as adults, we should be able to communicate. And if you can't communicate, learn how to communicate. Because when you adopt children, they're going to naturally come with questions. They're going to naturally come with thoughts. They're going to naturally have these, feelings. And so you, as an adoptive parent, it's your responsibility to be able to hold space for that because you chose to do it. You chose to do that. So if you're choosing to do this, then as an adoptee, we would, think that the next step would be to find the proper training or
Right.
education in order to figure out how to hold that space. Ebony says at 3 a.m. Leon, thank you for posting a link to this. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing this. And if you guys haven't shared it yet, definitely share it to those that so they can join us or they can join us next time. Tammy says, me and my cousin was talking yesterday. He has said again, my adopted mother, his bio aunt didn't want kids and the adoptive father did. That made me realize or recognize that he was more loving towards me than her. That's a dynamic too. We're going to get in that. We're going to get into that. But that dynamic is is quite different, because it's usually the mother who wants children and the father that's just like, all right, well, if you want to do it, I guess I'll do it. But the adopted father wanted kids. Wow, that's a pretty dynamic that is not talked about either. Our brother who was adopted found us on 23andMe. That's actually how I found my biological father. I found my biological father 2 years ago. Now 2 years ago now. Actually, it's coming up on 3. Ugh, time flies. It's coming up on 3 years, but that's how I found my biological father, who didn't even really know I existed. That's the show for another time. Ebony says, I'm learning so much about adoption through him. Yes, keep learning, keep being open to learn, because that's how you will build relationship with him. Most adoptees just want somebody to be able to, hear their story and not judge it. Love them anyway. I told you, like, I'ma love you anyway. Like, that should be our theme song. Even
Well,
if
I can tell you a story.
you know.
When I was on Ancestry DNA, I had connected my mother and my father and my sister, and I had reached out to what would have been my mother's first cousin.
Okay.
You can send messages to people when you're
Right.
connected on the Ancestry DNA tree.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a match for either side. You can actually DM them. So I send this lady a message, right? So I'm telling her like who my mom is. I'm like, hey, you don't know who I am. My name is Leon. My mother is such and such, and I was reaching out to see if you wanted to connect or if we could meet or have a phone conversation. And she starts giving me this long story. And then at the end, I think we messaged back and forth a couple of times. And then all of a sudden she was just like, don't message me anymore.
Mm.
I was like, what? You just gave me like this history lesson. And, she was basically like, don't contact me anymore. And I never reached back out to her, but like, it was just wild to me how she
Flip
gave
this.
me this long story and then basically uh, didn't want me to reach out to her anymore. So I was like, okay.
It's heavy. Like, it's heavy. Like that. That's why people don't tell the truth. That's exactly why people don't tell the truth, because it's heavy. And she probably got to a point
She probably got scared.
where it's like she's revealing. And of course, you as the adoptee is like, you're like, receiving all this information like, whoa, wait, wow, what, really, and when you start revealing those names, those people, those decisions that happened 20, 30, 35 years ago start to come up, and everybody is not ready for that truth to hit the fan. That everybody's not ready to face that truth. I always say the truth sets you free. When you gonna face it? When you in the dirt, like, and some people never face it, and they hit the dirt sooner than they probably should have, because that trauma has, it has really eaten away at them. Stress is a huge killer, and I think that not telling the truth brings upon stress, okay, in any dynamic, no matter what it is. I would rather just tell you the truth than to be lying to you and stressed about when you going to find out the truth, if you do, and nobody has time for that. Once an orphan says adopted, and you're beautiful, by the way. Once an orphan. I don't know your real name, excuse me, but I think you look like Erica from Mary, and I'm sure you probably get that a lot. You're very beautiful. Adoptive parents aren't provided with anything. The kids would get visits with the social workers, but the parents didn't get much. At least that's how it was in New York. Yeah, like I said, I think when we got adopted, I know we would go to the family services building, but it wasn't a long lasting thing. And I know at that time I was still too angry to even go through any type of counseling because, like I said, when I got adopted, it was traumatic for me. It was like my whole world. I went from living in Jersey City and being able to, stay out till the street lights came on to a very strict program. And I was like, whoa, like what is happening? I was just telling my sister yesterday, I was like, I feel like when I left Jersey City, my childhood kind of just died and I just became one of the strongest soldiers for the Lord in the army of the Lord. Joking, of course, but a little serious, because that's what it felt like. I'm being honest about my feelings. It felt like I went from being a child to now I'm in this soldier in this army that I didn't sign up for. I don't know how I got here. I agree, sister. Right on, right on. By the way, this is Mary. I use my middle name on here. Oh, hey, girl. Hey, how are you? I'm actually helping her find her family. I took a little bit of a break from that as well because, again, all of this is heavy and, things are happening in life that has now passed on. I had some health issues. I'm back and healthy now and maintaining. So I'm going to be back on that. But I am helping a few people find their biological family. So I appreciate you for being here. Yes. I'm not monetized. So, the way to support the channel is to hit the Cash App. I appreciate you, King. I could imagine. Yep. That was me. I was fostered from birth until my parents adopted me. Yes. And was it placed, fostered, adopted is her Instagram handle.
Okay.
I was 2 miles from my bio brother. That is one thing that my brother always talks about, how we were so close to our biological mom when we were in foster care. And I had no recollection of it, but he did. And he's a year younger than me. So that always amazes me. Tammy, see, that's what I thought it was at first. Yeah.
Actually, my biological grandmother, she literally lived right where I went to high school,
Mm,
which was probably 2.5 miles from where I lived.
wow.
Yeah.
I realized that my biological aunt lived down the street from my college. I didn't find my biological family. I was in college, but at that time when I was, going to college down the street from her, I didn't even realize that she was down the street.
Oh
I was
wow.
like, I would have been at your house all the time. My mom's baby sister, half sister. But things happen the way that they happen. But yeah, I found my biological family while I was in college. I died when they decided to move to Texas. Excuse me. Yeah, man, some things just die inside of you and you got to learn, you got to be reborn like that. And that's what happened with me. It was like I was being reborn when I was adopted. All right.
I don't remember per se going to actual like counseling, but I do remember going to like places that so they thought that I was couldn't talk because I was mute.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to like speech therapy and hearing therapy, all of these places to make sure that I could actually speak and hear. And so it wasn't that I could not talk; it was because I was in shock. Because I was still, I was like 3.5 years old when I was adopted. So um, I do remember that part of like going through, every day going to speech therapy and going, they put the headphones on you and they would say, okay, if you can hear, if you can hear this sound, raise your hand or look this way or whatever the case may be. So I guess you consider that therapy in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It definitely is. It's part of them actually seeing. My sister sent me um her paperwork when she was younger, and it describes that. It describes her going into, them evaluating her, how
Right.
she is acting around the family, how her other sibling who was her adopted mother's biological son, who was a lot older than she was, how he interacted with her, her emotions when they would leave the room. Like, it was very descriptive. I've never seen my adoption papers. Again, I told you my parents are a revolt child. Like, there is no, I don't know where they hide their papers at. If anything was ever to happen to them, God forbid, I wouldn't know where to look for anything. That's just how private my parents are. But and another way my sister is similar to you is she didn't look like her adoptive parents, so that made her curious. And she went rummaging through her adopted mom's paperwork and found my name, my brother's name. She found all the goods, child. And then, she's the one who reached out to me, and that's how we all got connected. So my sister actually found me. Yeah. I'm back. Yes, I'm back. Welcome. All right, I was going to play the video over, but child, we're going to go into a little bit of a break, and then we're going to get into the second video, okay?
Shop black jumps upon the scene with the lean and a pocket full of green. The green is a symbolizer made it on the top, but RoboCop last year was a shock. The tone of the Popeye cut shook your butt. Kids are screaming, the media says what? Kind of music is this for you to dance to? The man with the plan and the band demands you. Leave the smack in the crack, throw the whack, throw the ball and the knock, keep a smile like that. Leave the knife and the gun.
Alrighty, welcome. If you are just joining, definitely hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the channel. Let everyone know that we having these conversations, child. Somebody you know is adopted and they not telling you. Okay, so you may want to join the conversations to maybe see the signs, to be able to comfort them a time or two, or just be able to be a listening ear and understand where they come from, because you are under, the tutelage of adoptees who have experienced this journey and who are experiencing this journey. All right, so the next video that I want to bring up is, again, by the Adoption Journey podcast on TikTok, and Place Fostered and Adopted on Instagram. There was a video that I saw on TikTok that was kind of a balance between the first video that I played, and I wanted to play this video because there are adoptive parents who come into this awareness. They come into this accountability that many don't, and I appreciated this video because, again, many do not come into this awareness, and adoptees don't hear this. And for this adoptive parent to actually, admit this, to me was just like amazing. So I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to get into it, and then we're going to get up out of here.
Is changing my children's, taking away their right to know what their mother decided their name would be. Especially in my mother's and in my children's case, their mother did not place them up for adoption. She lost them through addiction. My son was 10, so he always knew her. And I changed his name. He was 10, and we changed his name. My daughter was 2, and we changed her name to fit our purposes because we wanted all of our kids to have J names. And now that is the most shallow, self-serving. It makes me sick to my stomach that we did it. I'm so angry at myself for not knowing enough about adoption at the time I adopted them, to have given them that, to have held on to.
I just want to say glory. Wow. Accountability, awareness, an adopted parent who has accountability and awareness. And the thing about it is, it's not something that is an onset. It's not something that you just get right away. Changing your adopted child's name at the age of 10. My sister's name got changed when she was little, but she wasn't 10. Can you imagine going to school? Now, I know what it's like going to school and my last name changing, and it's because of adoption. But could you imagine, going to learn how to write your name, and then in the 4th grade you got to write another one? What? Like, huh? Like, the last name is like, all right, there's nothing I can do, you know, these court orders. But I couldn't imagine if my first name was changed. And to be quite honest, I don't know if it was changed, but on my birth certificate, it says Michelle. My middle name is Precious, y'all. My middle name is Precious. But no, I don't think my first name was changed, but it wasn't. But could you imagine? Could you imagine at 9? Like the 2-year-old, don't know. But at 9, I mean at 10, your name changing, your first name changing?
Yeah, I mean,
Talk
I'm kind
about
of glad my name wasn't changed because I was named after my father.
mm,
So if I would have still had the last name, I would have been a junior.
mm,
So only my last name changed.
gotcha.
So my first name and my middle name stayed the same. No, I couldn't imagine like writing Leon for so many years and then whatever name they're trying to change it to. Like, all right, this is your new name. this is your new
Right? Like
identity.
that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. I agree. That's a lot. That's a lot at 10, you know? Yeah, my son is 9. I couldn't imagine somebody changing his name. It would be very confusing. And thank you for, you know, displaying this content and being an advocate, you know, through the journey yourself. People, you know, it takes us to have these conversations and bring these conversations to the forefront to get people's brains going. Like um uh I saw it appear. Unfortunately, I have no adoptee friends. All my friends are clueless. You know
You
how it
know,
feels to live
we're
in a
here.
world? Yeah, we're here. We got you, girl. You know how it feels to be in a world where you feel alone because no one can relate to you. You know, it's identity crisis 101, and a lot of people are in the first course and they never graduate from it. They never move on from it because it is a constant battle of wanting to belong but know that you don't. You know, so yeah. I never lost my name, but I've been there. Yeah. I know your last name finna change. We'll see. Hey, sis. At school, I use a different last name, and at home, I use a different last name. I had no choice. Yeah, I remember my last name being changed in the 4th grade. That was the grade I was going into when we got adopted. And I still have report cards with my biological last name, and then my report cards started to, you know, change with my adopted last name. But the first name, to me, I believe that that's something that should change in the adoption world. I don't believe that you should be able to change a child's first name. I just don't think that you should be able to do that. I think, you know, adoptees, foster children, we go through enough identity wise. The imposter syndrome, the, you know, closed off, you know, we're very closed off. No matter how much love we receive, there is still a part of us that wants to be detached because that's what happened to us. We were detached from our biological roots. And so that stays with us a bit, some of us more than others. So changing the first name is very drastic because when someone does decide to go and find and reunite with their biological family, child, they're not even gonna know what their mama named them or their dad named them, you know. And to me, that just adds on to the hurt, the pain that parents are not trained on. This woman said, you know, it was my self-serving nature that wanted all my children to have the a name that started with J. You know how many parents do that? So many parents do that. But a lot of parents do that with their biological children. So when you want to then put that on children that aren't yours, but they become yours through a signing of a piece of paper, for her to acknowledge, again, acknowledgement, the first lady acknowledged she regretted it, but this lady acknowledged that she regrets changing her children's name. You know, it is damaging. And you don't know because it's never happened to you. And that's why we need some type of empathy therapy, as well as adoption therapy and emotional support for parents to realize that, you're not wrong in the sense of wanting your own, right? You're not wrong for that. Just like a adoptee is not wrong for wanting a family of their own, the family that they came from to be their family, right? They're not wrong for feeling those feelings. And so again, we have to bridge the gap of I feel this. Where can we meet in the middle? And the way you meet in the middle is being inclusive, right? You have to tell me those feelings in order for me to, include myself in your world, to learn how to love you. And a lot of adoptive parents come in and it's my program and this is what's going to happen and you're going to do this and you're going to go here and you're going to participate in this, and we become soldiers in the army of the Lord. It's like, now we become, some of us become, robotic, and, we do things because it makes you happy. And then we forget about, who we are. And a lot of it is a brainwashing of adapting to this new program. And while I do believe that children do need discipline, they do need structure, they also need identity of their own, right? I'm not going to force my child to do something because I want her to do it. I want her to be able to make decisions on her own and be able to do things because she truly wants to do it, not because she's being forced, not because she, is given, no options. No, she should be able to express herself. That's how you learn your children. I remember back when we got adopted and we would go to family reunions. Now I'm from North Jersey. We like a good beat. Okay. We like a good Jersey beat. All right. We like to hit it on a beat. All right. And I love to dance. I was a very outgoing, child. I was very confident in myself and all of that. And I would dance. Like I would go to the family reunions and dance. And I remember my dad say, stop dancing. Stop it. And it was always, I always felt like I was being like restricted to be who I truly am. And that grows and stays with you until you bust out of the expectations of what other people expect from you. I had to learn that it's okay to be me. I like to dance. I like to sing. Whitney might be my aunt. I don't know. Okay. But that's just me, right? Love it, leave it, it is what it is. But as a child, you have to adapt. You have to go with the program. And so I went with the program, and but that also made me go into my shell, because it's like, well, if I can't be Michelle, then I'm gonna go into my shell. Okay. That's just what's gonna have to happen, because I want to be me, but being me is being looked down upon, or being me is being kind of, stay over there with that, or don't, and children shouldn't feel that way in an environment where they already feel out of place. And whether you're adopted or not, that's how parents learn their children. You have to let your children be who they truly are. So you know what their talents are, what their gifts are, their strengths. But when you try to manage and control that, which adoption brings that, right? The social care workers and the social care agency will tell you, your job is to manage environments and control environments. Some parents take that to the head, and they don't allow others to help them see what they're not seeing. So
Yeah, they don't like you said, the the room that you allow kids to grow is just let them be themselves. But obviously, like, you're not going around out the street in the middle of the street dancing. You're just
right, I'm with
being a
the
kid.
family. It's a family reunion. It's music playing.
Right.
Like, what you want me to do? Sit here like none? Like, it was just, to me, it was, and I understand, like, my parents are very, reserved and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, how do you tell a kid to stop being who they are? It's just, to me, it can become damaging if you don't accept that child for who they are. I'm already not yours. Like, and I hate to say it like that, but it's like I don't have the same nature that you have. And so getting to know my nature is getting to know me, just like me getting to know your nature is getting to know you. And I'm not stopping that or restricting that. So, I don't think it should be the other way around either. So yeah, you have to let your children be your kids. That's the only way you're going to learn them, and that's in a relationship, period. It's not even a parent child relationship. If I'm in a relationship, I'm going to have to let you be you. There's no other way that I will want you to be you, but you. Like, you know what I mean? Don't come in here with no fake and no fraud. Come in here yourself, because I'm going to do the same thing. And we will see if we like each other for each other or not. But, in any relationship dynamic, you have to allow the other person to be the other person. And if that is something that you can accept and receive, then yeah, continue on, being yourselves. But if you see that it is not something that, can flourish, then make the decisions to not be together. But in an adoption, you're in it forever. And so there is no leaving. There is no, getting out of it. There is only managing, experiences as you get older. There's only managing time spent with, family as you get older. I lost the fam and don't know if I want it back. I don't feel like family. Ooh, that's heavy. The feel is was I pushed away for a reason. Nature versus nurture. Yes, nature versus nurture. I,
Oh yeah,
I,
I'm a big proponent of that.
mm-hmm. I had so many social workers in and out of my life. Yes, I have my CPS files. I remember 2 social workers that I had. I had one social worker. She was like, "You're ugly when you don't smile." I was like, "Girl."
Oh. What?
But then told me I had Whitney Houston eyes. I'm like, what type of backhanded these social workers, is just a job for them. It's just a job. They're getting paid. They clock in and then they clock out. You talked about 23andMe earlier. I'm still curious after finding my dad. Excuse me. I'm still curious after finding out my dad isn't my bio if I get any family members pop up. Yeah. Did you find out through you found out through 23andMe? Have you reached out to any family members? Because I'm on Ancestry, but I'm sure the 2 platforms are pretty similar. When people join the platform, you're able to message them and reach out. Have you started any of that exploration? I remember you were on the fence about this years ago. It looks like you took the, initiative to do the 23andMe, but have you gone and, reached out to anyone? I know your mom wanted no parts of the conversation. I believe that's how it went. You would correct me if I'm wrong. You can join the live if you want.
Yeah, I think Ancestry DNA is a lot better than 23.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
like so in my case, I knew before I got on 23andMe, I mean Ancestry DNA, I already knew who my parents were. So I just plugged in like their names and like when they were born, and once I got the results back, it builds a tree for you, and then you just attach the names to your tree. And so, like I was saying earlier, when I reached out to my mom's first cousin, and she gave me that long ass story.
And then was like, all right, see ya.
Yeah, she was like, all right, bye. Toodaloo. So, yeah, so I think it's a good thing. I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's like when you find out, you get that excitement, right? Like, so you're like excited, and
Mm-hmm.
then they like break your heart like fumble at the 1 yard line.
Oh man. Ooh.
But you got to have the strength to be able to deal with it too, so
Yeah, I've never done 23 and me. I'm on Ancestry, so
yeah, me too.
although the Real Black Lexicon, thank you so much for being here. Although I did not spend this time with you tonight, Precious, I'm so thankful you have returned in great spirits. Yes, I'm returning with the adoptee foster. We're going to come back with the men's panel next Wednesday, so definitely join for that. King, of course, you're always welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing well. I thought thine eyes were deceiving me when I saw on YouTube.
Nope, I am back. I am back. I did a slow, comeback. I came back on Instagram, was going on Instagram Live a little bit, built the audience up, created a new Instagram page, the Adoptee Foster. For the longest, I was waiting to get 1,000 followers to go live over there. We built that up a little bit. And so now I'm back to YouTube. Leon was like, hello, we need to take this. And it wasn't just Leon, it was other people like, hey, you need to get back on YouTube. And I'm like, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, but I'm back. I mean, the channel was hearing it, like I might as well, right? So I'm
Good
back.
deal.
I'm back. So you want to share a little bit of your story, because you are also in this this dynamic of bio parents and not really knowing the truth.
Yeah, sure. So background, January of 2025. My brother and I, a couple of months prior, we did a 23andMe test. Now, up until that point, I had no real indication that the guy who I called my dad was not my biological father. Other than when I joined the military, right? You have to have your birth certificate. And I was the firstborn. And my father's name was not on the birth certificate. And I found that kind of odd. I remember questioning it in my 20s why he wasn't on there, and my mom and my dad, they didn't really address it. Now that I go back and think about it, like my dad made up some excuse that I did all the paperwork, but the nurses had did something and I got distracted, and that was that. So I went all this time and never really thought more of it. Now sidebar, people were comparing me. It was like, you don't look nothing like Larry. And I'm like, I know, but I look everything like my mom, right? So in my head, I'm like, all right, well, that's maybe just because I got more of like the mom's genes,
right?
Than my dad, because I look exactly like my mama. So fast forward, it was just it wasn't necessarily gnawing at me, but it was always sitting in the back of my head about this. So I didn't want to necessarily ask both my mom and my dad direct. So I was like, hey, what's a cheap way that we could do this? I didn't know that there were labs where you could go get this stuff done. And besides me and my brother, we're not co-located in the same state. So we just did a 23andMe test. And shortly before I had my defibrillator installed in January of 2025, the results came back right after New Year that he was my half brother. So I took it to my dad first, assuming that he might not know. So I broached him with it. Both my mom and my dad are divorced. They've been divorced for a while now. But I brought it to him first. He sounded surprised. I then brought it to my mom, and she was like, you ought to call your dad. And I'm like, but I'm talking to you right now. Besides, I've already talked to him first, and he sounded surprised. And she hit me with a line. She was like, ooh, that joke. I wish I had his number. I called and tell him about himself. And again, I'm still surprised because I just told both my mom and my dad that me and my brother are half brothers, but nobody definitively answered other than my mom telling me that I should talk to my dad, who I just spoke with, and he sounded surprised. But he did call me back and explain to me that he don't know why he lied, because I caught him off guard, but he knew that I was not his kid, because when he met my mom, she was already pregnant. And he made the decision to still stay in her life. They got married. He was in the Army at the time. They got married and raised me like I was his own. Sidebar, I love him for that. He's a great man. the thing that pissed me off that I still actually, I'm past it, but sometimes it flares up from time to time. I read earlier that I have a defibrillator installed. When I got my heart diagnosis, I was 28 years old. One of the very first things that your cardiologist does is they try to get an in-depth analysis of your family history. So at that point, when I'm talking to both my mom and my dad about my family history, somebody should have said something then. That's issue number one that I had. Issue number two is when I became a father myself. And if you have that knowledge, right, and you have some type of decency and heart about you, even if you didn't tell me earlier when I got my diagnosis, me being a dad should have like helped accelerate that. Like, son, let me sit down and tell you something so that you can make an informed health decision about how you should treat your daughter and the stuff that she should get tested for, because this might be something genetic that you have. But guess what? The reason why you might be the only one with it is because your biological father was the one that had it. You know what I'm saying? I have since forgiven my dad, and him and I chat daily. My mom and I don't have the same relationship because she's, to this day, really still hadn't owned up to it. I've forgiven her, but we don't have the same relationship because of that. And I don't even need her to apologize. I would just like for her to acknowledge how jacked up it was to discover at 40, after being a father myself, after having the cardiac thing, and then bringing this up to you, to not acknowledge the impact that could have had on me. So that's the backstory. That's everything. I am on Ancestry as well. And actually through Ancestry, I've had a first cousin reach out to me, both him and his sister separately, and they didn't know that we had talked to each other. And we were looking at trying to come together and maybe just have a conversation. His dad would have been my biological father's brother. The part about him reaching out to me, and this guy was a former NFL player. He was real easy to find online because he played in the league. The jacked up part about him reaching out to me, he doesn't know who his biological dad is. Wow. So we're sitting there talking to real like, hey man, I don't know
where these men at
for each other, because if you don't know who your biological dad, I don't know what, like, I don't, but besides being able to tell you where my dad would have met my mom, because she had never left the state of Alabama where she would have gotten pregnant. I was like, I could tell you where I was conceived at and like the year. I don't know how we could actually help each other. There were some talks about us trying to meet, but it died down more on his end than mine. I was interested in doing it. He said he was, but when I'm like, hey, what's your availability? Here's where I live. Like, I mean, I can make it work. It just kind of died down.
Yeah, because King know he would meet somebody. I didn't seen your journeys, man. You meet everybody on social media. We met before.
I pull up.
You know, so you definitely don't have a problem with that. You know,
I will pull up. If I tell you I'm pulling up, I'm pulling up.
Yeah, I that's why I asked you, you know, you're on these, you know, Ancestry, 23andMe platforms. Have you reached out to anybody that is on the platform that it says that you're related to? Maybe you have higher DNA levels with these people than other people. You know, have you reached out? Is there any reaching out to you? Like, how is that going? Because that will help you as well if people are willing to talk.
Yeah. So that's a good question. So besides that cousin and his sister, I've had some email communications between some people. I'm very open when people reach out to me. As a matter of fact, my profiles that say, hey, if you're interested in reaching out, I point people to where all of my social media is, so that way, you know, people can take a look and go, okay, this dude don't seem like he's a weirdo or anything like that. All my social media is open. Right. And with a name like King Smith, I'm not hard to find. So I have had some people reach out to me besides them. I've reached out to some people that would have been looking at the like path of the DNA and how it breaks out, that would have been on my biological father's side. And I don't know if people just are skeptical when people reach out to them or whatnot. I've had some, but it never really gets out of emails. I've had one video chat. With somebody that would have been like a second cousin, and it got as far as us, trying to figure out like family history, where people could have met. But again, because I don't know my biological father, if he was from my hometown, if he was in the army and was stationed there in my hometown as well when they had the base there, I didn't have much I could contribute from my side. So sometimes stuff just dies down. There was somebody that was interested in meeting that was coming to DC, and I don't live that far from DC. And our schedules just didn't align. So that's like the closest that I've gotten to contacting and reaching out to somebody that we could have met, but it's just died out. So I haven't actually met anybody that I've connected to, but I had, like, anytime that email comes in where you've got a new notification or something, I'm always going in and seeing what the connection is.
You got a hint on your maternal side, these are.
Every time I get that email, I'll be like, man, let me see who it is. What's going on?
And then me and my siblings be comparing, like, they show up on yours? Did they show up on yours? Because I'm actually, I don't share a father with any of my siblings, but some of my siblings do share a father. So, they're my half siblings, but I don't look at them that way. To me, they my whole ass siblings. Like, I don't look at any of them as half. But thank you so much for coming up to share your story, because while you were not adopted, you did you were adopted. Let's just put it that way. Someone came in and they took care of you and they raised you as if you were their own, and that's pretty much what adoption is. You have no biological ties to him, and they decided to not tell you for their own reasons. I don't necessarily always agree with that. However, that's the way that it played out. And it's unfortunate that you had to, go through these life changes in order to find this out, right? And this is exactly why I don't like when the truth is withheld, because we already don't, as adoptees and foster children, we already don't know the freaking truth, right? And so adopted parents and foster parents feel as though, well, they're already in the dark, let's keep them there until one day, we see the light. Like, one day we're curious about things. I think for me, it was actually when I got in college and I was taking these psychology courses. I was like, hold on. I don't remember going through that stage. What happened? What was going on in life? Like, why didn't I go through this trust versus mistrust stage? Or did I? And I didn't know I was going through it, right? Because of the transitions that were happening in my life. Yes, so just getting back to your story, definitely, I'm here if you do need any help, placing people or finding people. That's what I'm doing currently, helping people find their family. But I'm glad that you were able to find out the truth for you, for your daughter. I hope Castle is doing well. It looks like she's thriving. I'm keeping up with the post. Thank you. And Michelle as well. I, miss you guys and always hoping and wishing that you're well. But this is a journey that a lot of people don't realize that other people go on, right? Because we make it look good on the outside and we're smiling and we're friendly and we're neighborly. However, we have things that stress us the hell out sometimes. Okay. So like you say, you over it, you pass it, but there be sometimes where you like, wait, hold on. Why did you feel as though you couldn't tell me? Like, why keep the secret? Why, when I tell you something is going on with me internally, that wasn't an opportunity for you to just be real with me or be honest and hot, honest, open, and transparent, and those are things that they have to live with, right? Unfortunately, we had to live with the decisions that they made, but those, there's a lot of people on their deathbed who will admit some heavy truths, right? And then they're no longer here to explain those truths or tell you why they never told you, but they feel it's right there in that moment. God is leading them in the glory and its honesty, right? Because you know how the older folks they just feel like they want to get in, they want to get in them gates, they want to get into heaven, and they ain't gonna let that lie or that that withhold truth stop them. Like there ain't other things that can send your behind right to the hell, right? Like So I just say all that to say that I'm glad that you are finally finding out who you are, because that's the important thing as well. We want to know who we are. We ain't trying to hurt nobody. We not trying to, make anyone feel less than. We don't want to look like we're unappreciative. We want to know who we are. We don't want to be robbed of our stories. And nobody wants to be robbed of their story. You would never rob your daughter of her story. You live very honestly and very boldly. And so with adoption, if it's going to be a bold move that you make, continue making those bold moves into healing, because it's going to take a lot of healing when you realize that just telling the truth up front would have been a lot better for the relationship. And I hope that you and your mom, I hope you and your mom, do get to a point. I never rush anybody's healing process, because we all have a healing process in a time and a season and a reason for why we do what we do. But in due time and in due season, I hope that you guys do get to a point where she can acknowledge you. We talk about this, Leon, right? That acknowledgement, that child in us always wants that acknowledgement from our parent. I don't care how old we get. We could be 50, 60, 70, 80. Without that acknowledgement, we feel a little incomplete, right? We don't need the apology. We old enough to know how to handle business and go on with life. However, that acknowledgement is very important, because hey, I'm only your child. I'm not asking you for something that you wouldn't, give a stranger. I'm asking for something that I need for me, and for our relationship to flourish. So I hope that does, turn around, and I hope, she finds it in her heart to say, you know what, I was wrong. I was telling Leon one live on Instagram, when I was younger, I found myself writing a lot of apology letters, but I don't remember getting that many apologies back. And you get to a point in life where it's like, I don't need the apology. I just need you to keep it real with me for once in your life. Like, you know what I mean? You get real good at these lies and these hidden truths. You're real good at that. But now that the truth is out there, let's build on the truth and let the lies lie where they at, right?
I need some advice from both of y'all prior to me stepping down and y'all going through y'all's show. How do you handle when you see somebody or somebody tells you like that you and so favor? Like my mind will go through like, well, now that I know, because I used to hear that. And there was one particular time where I'm at a casino and these two older women stopped me in my tracks and asked me if I was related to so-and-so. And then they went down, like asked me where I'm from and all this and that. And then even so much so that I stood up one time and walked away and they started laughing. And I turned back around and I was like, he even walks like him. And I'm like, who is this dude? Now, this was before I knew the real story about my biological father. So now, anytime anybody says that or they mention that, or you might be, kin to some so-and-so, I go down this rabbit hole of wanting to like explore that thought. And I go, well, you know what? I wonder, like, how do y'all manage that? And if you have any advice for me, please let me know.
I've been told that I look like certain people. Like you said, have certain mannerisms about myself. I was always curious, like I wonder, do I look like this person? But um, I really didn't act on it because this was at a young age, and I said this earlier. Like you don't know. Um, I'll only speak for myself. Like when I was 21, I was not ready to look for my parents. Like legit, I was not mature enough. I probably was still somewhat angry, even though I couldn't express that to my parents because I wanted to figure this out on my own. This was something they could not do for me. Like this is something that I had to do on my own, something I had to figure out on my own. And when I did it, I was telling Precious that I did it, right before, probably before I turned 30 years old. And at that point, I was ready. I was mature enough. I was at peace. I prayed about it a lot.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So when people would tell me that I looked like certain people, yeah, I thought about it a lot. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But like, I was just at a point where I was not ready to do any of that for real.
Okay.
Well, you want my opinion. I mean, now that you know, you didn't know then, excuse me, when those ladies were pointing out the similarities between you and this mystery man, right? And so at that point in time, I probably would have been a little like perturbed, like, okay, like, are y'all going to tell me who he is, or y'all just going to keep telling me that I got all the mannerisms of this man, right? But it honestly depends on you, because I'm at a point in life where I don't have a problem walking up to anybody and letting them know I'm adopted. I don't find that to be. I remember working somewhere, and the feedback from me telling a story about my adoption was, "Why did she tell us that she was adopted?"
Mm.
When I heard that, I was like, "What's wrong with me saying that I'm adopted? What's
Mhm.
wrong with that?" Like, I personally don't see anything wrong with that. So the fact that somebody else would see me, I guess they wouldn't be as confident or as bold, or be as open as I am about my adoption to really tell someone that. So it's up to you, and it's where you are in your journey and in your life about being honest about who you are. My tagline for the Real Precious is be real with yourself so you could be real with others, right? And so if you're real with yourself, being real with yourself is, I want to know who he is. I want to know how to get in contact with him. So I am going to open up those doorways where somebody might be giving me this information or might know this information. And I'm at a place in my life where I want it. So I'm going to invite that. But if you know that you're not in a place in your life to invite whoever this man is, your biological father, in your life, and you're just not ready to open, those cans of worms, that's up to you. Again, we want to know who we are, identity. And so you got to be ready to face you, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's where I was when I was reunited with my biological family. I was raised well, and my faith was so strong that it was like, all right, I'm ready to face it. No matter what it is, no matter if we talk again, no matter if we don't talk again, no matter if I call this woman, because I met my biological mom first, I know that it is well with my soul. You know what I mean? Going to see her and then departing from her as if I'll never see her again. Right. So you have to be in a place of, am I open and ready to want to know who he is? But as far as receiving those compliments and things like that, child, we all got a twin somewhere. I told you the other day that you look like somebody on the internet. And I was like, what?
Yeah, you said
I was like, dang, this look like you. I had to do a double take. Like, wait, what was the name again on the page? Like, because he really looked like, y'all really do look alike, But I think you have to be real with yourself, and you have to be real with where you are in the journey of finding that other part of you. And finding that other part of you is, I know that someone raised me, and I know that I'm biologically your child, and you go from there. If you have questions, ask questions. If you want to know, you seek and you shall find, but it's up to you.
Okay. Well, Precious, Miss Leon, y'all, thanks for having me up. I am going to hit you up about your process.
Okay.
Because I'm curious. So what is it, email or just DM you?
DM me. Yeah. Okay. I do have a form on my both pages, on Real Precious Official and the Adoptee Foster Instagram page. There's a link there, and there's a Google Doc that if you fill out the information on there, if I need more information, I'll get in contact with you. Okay. You can DM me, you can, fill out the doc. We can do a little bit of both and, meet in the middle and come up with something.
Do I need to sell a kidney to afford this? And make this work?
No.
Okay.
I got you.
Awesome.
All right, love. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All
Have a good evening.
Take care.
All right. So I don't want to go past 2 hours. This has been a great show. I do see some other comments in the chat. Welcome back to the ghetto. The ghetto.
Not the ghetto.
Nah, look, YouTube. When I first got onto YouTube, I honestly didn't know what I was getting myself into. And so I was, very observative, and I observed a lot. I was on panels and, went through some discussions, and, it boils down to, even now I see things on YouTube and I'm like, dag, this is where we're at. It reminds me of high school. Sad to say, not the ghetto, but it's like high school.
Close to it.
And in high school, I never associated myself with a group of people, right? Like I never wanted to be in a popular crowd. I played sports, I played basketball, so people knew me from playing basketball. I was in a marching band, so people knew me, but I never attached myself to certain groups. I had, my basketball friends and a couple of friends, but I was always, I kind of, kept to myself. But yeah, YouTube does remind me of high school, and I don't want to be attached to any, one, I've done panels and I'll participate, but I don't want to be attached. Okay, I'll participate, but I don't want to be attached. This is better content than the last. I appreciate you, WW Collaborations. I appreciate you. Once an orphan. First of all, I love y'all for having a conversation that I love. Anytime, we're gonna be here every Tuesday. Tuesday is gonna be on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tonight is Wednesday, and we're here tonight because I had some obligations to my mentoring program that I'm a part of. But usually it's gonna be on Tuesday nights. We're also gonna have a men's panel that's probably gonna be on Wednesday nights. So tonight, next week, is going to be the men's show, and I'm still coming up with a new title for that. So just stay tuned. Click the bell for the notifications, just so y'all are in the know. Okay. Hey. Looks like somebody's giving some love to 3 a.m. Mr. Leon. Salute to the chat and panel. Thank you so much for being here. The email stresses me out. Yes, man. You don't know what you're going to open up in them emails. El Nix, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I will never receive the acknowledgement from my biological mom. Yeah, and sometimes that is the harsh reality that we have to live with. That's why I need my faith. Because if I didn't, I probably would spiral in the bad direction. I probably, would be mad at the world. I probably wouldn't be a pleasant person to talk to. People probably wouldn't confide in me in the way that they do. Because not receiving that acknowledgement from your biological parents or even from your adoptive parents really does something to you, when these people were sent to love you. These people were sent to care and nurture you. And when you don't get a certain type of nurturing that you need, and especially if you have expressed that you need this nurturing, is one thing if you're trying to, or you're expecting people to read your mind, but it is another thing when you are very honest and open about how you feel about certain situations, and it's swept under the rug, or you don't get the acknowledgement, or you get this passive aggressiveness that makes you feel like the crazy person for being honest and being real about how you feel. And then you get to a point where you see people for who they are, and you acknowledge their actions and their inactions towards your feelings and your emotions. Once an orphan. I don't see anything wrong with it now, but I hid it until I was 30. Man, it takes a while for us to actually be open about, our stories and things of that nature. Yes, it is definitely high school. Yeah, man, I don't want no parts of it. I stay in my own little corner. Those who would like to, view and participate, I'm open. To me, if I have one viewer, I'm okay with that. I don't need 700, 800 people. Would it be nice? Yes, it would be nice. But, people, build a house and they'll come. I'm not here for a popularity contest. I'm here to spread awareness and to really give people something else to think about other than what's going on social media and the latest gossip and things of that nature. We might get into that on the men's panel. We might, bleed a little bit into those little pockets of conversation. But when it comes to the adoptee foster, we like to, educate and be amongst those who have gone through the same things that we have gone through, even different things, because no adoption story is the same. We all, there are similarities, but they're not all the same. And so we come and shed light on that reality that we all face, that some of us are ready to do it and some of us are not. And those who are not, and you like to just watch and observe and maybe chat in the comments, that's fine as well. I always drop the link. I pin it to the top of the chat, so whoever wants to join can join. I saw AJ joined.
Yeah, he was in the car, but I didn't.
Yeah, he was in his
Maybe.
car. So maybe next time, but he know where to find us. So I appreciate those who have participated. The chat has been, chatting, okay? And I appreciate the donation.
On the scene with the lean and a pocket full of green. The green is the symbol as I made it on the top, but RoboCop last year was a shock. The tone of the Popeye cut shook your butt. Kids are screaming to me.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's see, you do a great job at navigating through it and bringing positive content. Thank you so much, Elnix. I appreciate you. Definitely share, subscribe. Well, I already know you subscribe, but definitely tell people about the show. There are some people who are adopted that that they're adopted, but they may not want other people to know that they're adopted. But sending them that link, just a nice little, pretty little gesture, small gesture, I should say, to just show them that they're not alone and that they have a community that they can attach themselves to. I can care less about her. She was never a mother to me, so I'm good. Plus, I do not know her. I only know of her. Yeah, sometimes you can't attach feelings. Well, I think that there are feelings there, but you learn how to move on with life. You learn how to not attach so much emotion because, like you were saying, Leon, there are ebbs and flows of finding biological family. Like you did, you found an aunt and it's like, I'm gonna give you all this information, and then it's like, don't talk to me no more. And it's like, whoa, is there bipolar in the family? Should I know? Like, you know what I mean? Like now you like, whoa, what is happening? Like it takes a whole other, so sometimes it's better to close certain chapters where that it throws your nervous system off. You're not going to get anywhere with any answers. That your mental health is not worth going down this rabbit hole of people who are just not interested in your well-being or you living at all. I have one person who really needs to be here. Well, I hope that one day you send them the link and that they're able to just sit back and observe and hopefully one day share their story, if not with us, with those who are around them, or just even be honest about how they feel about their story. Because that's one thing that just does not, you would think the truth, would be the bridge, right, that helps adoptees and adoptive parents and foster, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in adoption and foster care in this dynamic. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I'm saying that the truth is heavy. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth divides. Sometimes the truth brings up choices and situations that happened so long ago that people, go ahead and bury and they don't talk about. But I will always say, like, the truth to me will set you free. It just will, because I don't want to have to worry about the burden or the heaviness of the lie. And I think a lot of adoptive parents struggle with that, and there's nothing wrong with struggling with it, but don't continue to struggle with it. So I'm going to play a little video about some books. Y'all know I love my books. Y'all know I love reading. I love sharing that with you guys as well. I saw a video. Now, I haven't read all of these books myself. However, sharing is caring. So if you are having these conversations and you don't know what language or verbiage to use with your children, if you have a biracial or a transracial adoption, and you are looking for the words of how to be inclusive, but yet, understanding of other cultures, I have a video here that just gives you some books that you can refer to. And, look, they always say if you want to hide something, put it in the book because folks don't read, like that's what they say, right? So these are some books. And rewriting adoption is also a Instagram page. Rewriting adoption has a lot of adoption content. I think everyone that I shared tonight, whether it was a clip, even that little clip of books, everyone is a part of the adoption community. So definitely go and follow their channels. If you know someone that would benefit from, consuming this adoption content to help them in their lives, definitely, send them to a lot of these different, you have Once an Orphan on TikTok. Same person is place.foster.adopted on Instagram. She does really good content. Hopefully one day she'll, want to join one of the lives. But she has interviewed a lot of different adoptees, a lot of those who are just in the community, period. And I definitely look to collab with her one day. There's also adopted_Connor on IG and TikTok. He does a lot of content surrounding adoption and foster care. And then of course there's myself. Definitely go to the Adoptee Foster on Instagram and follow, subscribe. All right. Do you have any closing words this evening, Leon, before we get out of here?
I really enjoyed this. Was a good conversation. The chat was chatting. We appreciate you guys for engaging with us and allowing us to share our journeys with you. And we hope to have plenty more topics. Maybe we can read some excerpts from the book that you sent me. Go over some videos and all kinds of stuff. I'm excited and I'm glad you're back on YouTube. Welcome back. Welcome back to the ghetto.
To the ghetto. It's good to be back. I'm glad to be back. I thought I would forget how to do a lot of this stuff, child. I was in here like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the studio, like, all right, how do I do X, Y, and Z? But I kind of, picked right back up, like it was just like riding a bike. So, got, little fixings here and there, a little bit changed with YouTube, but they added a lot. And so I appreciate them for that. But we will be back next Wednesday. We'll be here with the men's panel, but on Tuesday, we will be back with the Adoptee Foster. So lock us in. Definitely hit the notification bell so you're notified. So even if you don't see my post on Instagram, you don't see the stories and things of that nature, you'll know through YouTube that I'm going live, because this will be the platform where we go live from now on. I may still do some, impromptu lives on Instagram, but the majority of everything will be on here. I'm excited to have the men's panel back as well. So definitely tell your guy friends if y'all just want to have, some content to watch where, we ain't arguing, we ain't fighting. I mean, the conversation might get heated again. I don't know. It could go either way. Like you said, it could go either way. But there ain't gonna be no disrespect. I'll tell you that. Once an Orphan, I definitely do, but I wrapped my hair before I knew I could join. I'm ready for when you are, sis. All right, let's do it. I'm excited about that. Great. I'm not alone on this. Yeah, man. That's why we have this community, because we all can relate somehow, some way. Okay. Lovely, y'all. Fam from another man. Thank you so much for being here and interacting WW collaborations. I really appreciate you. Menalik, it's been a minute. Hey, how you doing? You see, he got the wrench. That means he got OG. He got a wrench. He got a wrench. Okay. That means he's been over here for a while. Yes, he is one of the, what do they call them things again? Look, I don't forgot the terminology. He got a wrench. Moderator. There you go. Moderator. make some decisions over here, okay? All right, kick you out. The word, just give them the word. It was a good one, y'all. Thank y'all again. I appreciate y'all. It was good. It felt good coming back to YouTube. Maz, thank you, love. Look, it's coming back. It's coming back. And it all came back like an epiphany. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you're doing well. All right, we're going to get up out of here, but y'all have a great evening. What is it, 11 o'clock here on the East Coast? Look, we about to spring forward. All right, so on Sunday, is it Sunday, Saturday? One of them days. Sunday, don't forget to move your clocks forward. It's going to get, dark around 7, probably a little later. We got some warm weather coming up, so don't act up too bad, okay? All right, you can still get sick. All right, cover that neck. No, I'm just kidding. Enjoy, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. It has been a good one. And again, this is the Real Precious Network. This show is the Adoptee Foster, where we say the uncomfortable things out loud. All right, but until next time, be real with yourself so you can be real with everyone else. You guys enjoy your evening.